Mustard, mayo, ketchup. Marry, kill. Which one? Where we going with them?
We killing mustard.
Kill mustard.
We killing mustard. We f***ing mayo, and we marrying ketchup.
That makes sense.
I'm just keeping it.
That makes
because I incorporate ketchup into more dishes than I would mayo or mustard.
Yeah.
I'm not a mustard guy at all. Fuck mustard. And mayo really only works on a sandwich, or if I go to Europe and want to fit in, I could dip some fries.
I fuck with aioli, which is the same as mayo.
It's really,
but I just like to say the word aioli.
It's just it's French mayonnaise.
It's French mayonnaise.
That's all it is. Aioli is really Allen. If it was made in America, it'd be Allen.
Yeah, it's the Almanac of Rap show. I got opinions and they all factual. No news, just information that you won't be able to use unless you're at a dinner party trying to impress who's in attendance with endless tidbits of nonsense. We're gonna have a good time, I promise. YouTube rabbit holes, Reddit deep dives, pulling out old interviews from the archives. Styles, fads, trends, all of that. It's the Almanac of Rap.
Welcome to the Almanac of Rap, the show that got front, back, and side to side. I'm your host, Donwill, and today's guest is Bun B. He's a Texas legend who you might know as the co-founder of UGK or the owner of Trill Burgers. We talk about all that and much more in today's episode. But before we get into that conversation, you know, I gotta kick the ballistics. Eating is a necessary part of life, and in hip-hop, it's got more than a few meanings. Now, the last thing I want to do here is decode our slang for the colonizers. So, I won't be talking you through the variations of the word or how it's used in the culture, but I will be talking about eating with regards to actual food. In recent years, fast food chains have made a big push to cash in on rap celebrity. Some of these collaborations include the Migos and Megan Thee Stallion, who both partner with Popeyes, Jack Harlow teaming up with KFC, Doja Cat and Lil Nas X both partnering with Taco Bell, and McDonald's has given Offset, Cardi B, Travis Scott, Saweetie, and Stormzy a meal box. We've come a very long way since MC Hammer was being made fun of for dancing with chicken. Sidebar, do y'all remember Pusha T's rib roast diss track, the one he did for Arby's? What about the Hamburger Helper mixtape when the Glove from Hamburger Helper dropped the mixtape? Justice for MC Hammer. But there's another class of rappers, however, who are cutting out the middleman and going direct with their love of food. Rappers like E40, Prodigy, and Coolio all have cookbooks that speak to their culinary interests, and Action Bronson is a full-on chef with a very popular cooking show. A lesser-known rapper food tie-in, however, is that Wise Intelligent of the group Poor Righteous Teachers is a co-founder of Rap Snacks. Rap Snacks is a line of chips that licenses rappers' likenesses and gives them their own potato chip flavor, ramen noodle flavor, or gummy candy flavor. Some of these collaborations include Nicki Minaj, NBA Youngboy, Lil Baby, Rick Ross, Lil Boosie, and Master P and Snoop Dogg. And speaking of Master P and Snoop Dogg, they've linked up to drop a few boxes of cereal, but the bigger reveal is that they have a pantry full of other food items. Master P's Miller Family Foods sells healthy options including protein bars and protein pancakes, while his boutique brand Uncle P's sells cake mix, flour, and baking soda.
Make crack like this. Ghetto dope.
Baking soda. Master P also put his homie Snoop up on game and helped him launch Broadest Family Foods, a brand dedicated to the memory of Snoop's mom. The brand sells pancake mix and cereal, and I guess those things pair well with one of Snoop's children's albums or cartoons. Yo, seriously, how much does Snoop Dogg have for sale? Skechers, pancakes, albums, clothes. Is Sky Mall. Weed. Yeah, weed too. He sells weed. Legal weed. And another rapper who has pivoted to food is Bun B. He turned a food blog into a food franchise, and his eyes are set on world domination. He's also the guest on today's show, so instead of listening to me yap about it, we can get it straight from the man himself. Here's my interview with Bun B. Check out the Okayplayer shop for exclusive collectibles and limited runs. That's shop.okayplayer.com. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Almanac of Rap. I'm your host, Donwill, and today's guest is a pioneer of the Texas rap scene and an absolute legend overall. He's one half of UGK, but has also went on to forge an impactful career as a solo artist. He also has the best burger in the world. Please welcome Bun B.
How you doing, my brother?
What's good, man?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you.
Happy to have you at the table, man. It's been a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, this is dope.
Yeah, thank you, man. So I want to take you back in your career, back to early Bun, back to before UGK, I think. You're in a group. Your group used to be called Four Black Menaces.
Yes.
And it was Gangsta Dancehall.
So what it was, so prior to that, I was in a group called the PA Militia.
Okay.
And Pimp was in a group. The first iteration of Underground Kings was him and a guy named Mitchell Queen. And so we came together and created a four-man group called 4BM, Four Black Ministers, but menace as in menace to society. So
I like that.
And so Pimp's thing was, because we were very big into reggae at the time, so he was like, we need to do like some gangster, but on like roots reggae, not really dance hall, but more like roots reggae, you know. And so we kind of went for it, and out of that came the session for Cocaine in the Back of the Ride. But by the time we got to that song, the four-man group had kind of went down to twos. One man had went to college, and another one was basically trying to concentrate on football to get the same scholarship that the other guy got when he went to college. But they were all still crew. So Pimp and I got together, and that's when we started what the world knows now as Underground Kings.
Okay. Was that one of those guys, Big Mitch?
Yes. So Big Mitch was the one who went and left them to play football for
Okay, got you. I was going to ask what happened to Big Mitch.
Yeah, Big Mitch is still around.
Okay, word.
Talk to him all the time, yeah. But that was the first iteration of UGK, was Pimp and Mitch.
Shout out to you, Big Mitch. You know
Absolutely.
Does any of this audio still exist? I tried to look on YouTube. I couldn't find it. I just wanted to hear it.
Not really. A lot of that stuff, we didn't really protect it in that way. There were some older songs still sitting around the den where a lot of the stuff was kept at Pimp's mom's house. But that stuff is moving around. I'm not really sure what it is at this point.
So if you got one, eBay is probably worth like
it might be worth a couple of coins.
A couple coins, you know what I'm saying? All right, so my other question is, in terms of the Southern hip-hop scene at the time, what were your local regional inspirations that kind of made you want to start doing rap in like the 80s, late 80s?
Well, I mean, for me in the city of Port Arthur was actually Pimp. Pimp was one of the younger people to actually approach being a hip-hop artist. There was a couple of older students doing music at the time. One of them, Mr. Boomtown, the hip hop video director. Yeah. So Mr. Boomtown, used to be, one of the first rappers in in Port Arthur.
Oh, wow.
At the time. He and Dory Dorsey, who later became DMD, 25 lighters on my dresser.
Yes, sir.
They were some of the first people in our town actually rapping. Chad was like the youngest person to become a member of that group. And then those people eventually graduated. Mr. Boomtown ended up going to University of Houston for football. He had a scholarship and was doing pretty good, but ended up having a knee injury. It kind of took him out of that. And so he was taking film classes at the time and, changed his direction into, videography and becoming a director. And the rest is history for him. He's done, feature films at this point, and he's just taken off. But that was my OG at the time. That was the people that we were looking at that were, kind of setting the tone for what rap music from our part of the world would kind of look like and sound like.
Yeah. And were you were traveling to Houston, or were you doing stuff centrally in Port Arthur? At
that point, up until like maybe 91, we were recording at the house. We did everything primarily at Pimp's mom's house. You know what I'm saying? And in the den is where most people would record music at. And
yeah, I was gonna say, because in my mind I was like, oh, sort of like the Dungeon in Atlanta, but there's no basements in Texas, right?
Nah, not really. Yeah. I mean, you could build one, but it would take a little bit of effort in order to do that. Then the ground's a lot harder where we are. So most people just have a a big expansive house going out and maybe up, depending on the kind of bread you
The
got.
ranch style home.
Yeah, but we were primarily just in Port Arthur trying to make it do. Pimp was buying equipment. My senior year, there was different equipment. We wanted like an ASR 10 and a different drum machine. So like we started selling candy and different things at school to get money for that type of stuff. And then, eventually I graduated, from high school in 91. Pimp was doing homeschooling at the time, barely hanging on to school, if at all, you know what I'm saying? But, we were still like locked in and ready to get out there and give it a shot.
Yeah. And that's gotta be, like, to have those aspirations in high school as young men, and also at that time when hip hop wasn't even really considered, it was in its infancy in some respects.
No, my mom didn't really understand what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
My mom still doesn't really understand, but back then the idea of that being a career, my mom couldn't really grasp the idea of it because her only reference for it was singers, you know? And what we did wasn't technically singing. And what we sang, what we did talk about, she didn't really care for. So she didn't really see how there was a career there for that. And to be honest, in 1990, 1991, I couldn't point at a rapper and say, well, he's rich or this guy's rich, you know, guys would, they were making money, whatever, but I don't think there were any rap millionaires at that time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was a hard sell, to say the least.
When was the first time you found, like, you discovered you had an audience outside of your city or Texas? Like, that was probably later into your career.
Well, I mean, so when I moved to Houston after graduation, we were recording and we ended up going to the studio, and recording a few songs. One of course was, Pocket Full of Stones and different things like that. But the first demo song we actually had was Tell Me Something Good, right?
Okay, yeah.
So we had given that to the guy that wanted to sign us. And we ended up being entered into Houston Home Jams, which is like a local radio show where, different people would play a record, people would call in, and at the end of like 2 weeks, they'd, tally up the votes and see who got the most calls. And that group would get, their single pressed at RPM Studios. What happened was we got in the last day of competition. We got more calls than everybody, but because we were already connected with a record company, they didn't give us the single. We were already recording and getting ready to press something up. So they didn't give us that, but people kept calling the radio station to hear the song. And so they ended up just putting the song into like a little rotation or whatever. And pretty soon everybody was talking about the song in the city. And I was like, yo, this is actually really starting to happen. And then once he released the first Southern Way EP, and I mean, we sold 50,000 copies in like a month.
Wow.
And, we had a slight advantage, to be fair, because the guy that signed us and put us out was the owner of a record store. He had a very good relationship with Russell Washington.
Was that a Big Time Records?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he had a great relationship because Big Time Records was a record store. So he knew all the one-stops. He knew the wholesaler. You know what I'm saying? So those relationships were already there. And so when we released the record, this guy made sure to present it to everybody that was looking for music. I would even sell it. I worked at the record store at that time. I would sell my record and I wouldn't tell people it was me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then people would come back and be like, man, you didn't tell me this was you. You know what I'm saying? But I was just doing my job trying to sell what I felt was the best product in the store. And I didn't think nothing was better than my album at the time, to be fair.
Exactly. You shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Another thing, this is like a quick tangent sidebar. There was a video for Tell Me Something Good.
Yeah.
And I believe Pimp C had a Nirvana t-shirt on.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
What kind of music was he in? Like, what kind of other music were y'all into?
I mean, we listened to a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? But keep in mind, at the time, we still were not we did not make a lot of money. So Nirvana t-shirts and all of that, we used to go to this place called Bazaar. And that'd be like where you can get, 2 shirts for $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was just one of the shirts. That being said, though, we did understand who Nirvana was and what bands, Smells Like Teen Spirit and all of that is about the same time. And keep in mind, grunge was as underground, respectively, as what we were doing. You know what I'm saying? In the same way that like punk rock and Public Enemy would coexist in like CBGBs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know
I got on my cardigan. Shouts out to Kurt, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like CGBG. So, but we're counterculture. You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? So we were supportive of anybody doing something different than what everybody else was doing, just to be self-expressive, you know?
Yeah. Well, that like those early videos, man, I was like geeking out on them, getting ready for the interview. It was so cool to see like young you, Pimp C, you know what I'm saying? That shit was fun as hell.
Yeah, and that was crazy because that was our first music video, and it didn't really feel like a real music video. So we never really got, allocated real budgets for anything.
Yeah.
So we were just kind of making do with what we had. So that wouldn't have been typically what I would have wanted to wear, but that's kind of what the wardrobe was.
You know, it kind of has echoes of what's happening on social media now, and just like grab, just shoot some.
Absolutely.
Off the hip, make it hot. You know what I'm saying?
No, it was DIY for sure.
Yeah, and I love DIY. That's my shit, man. Just like that kind of like innocent amateurish thing.
Just trying to figure this shit out, you know?
Yeah, and you've been figuring it out. You went from the regional big time records to getting a major deal with Jive. Jive in the 90s was the home of like D-Nice, Too Short, KRS-One, Tribe Called Quest. My question about that is, these artists were probably, I don't know if you signed before them or after them, but they were probably in your sphere, like in your sphere of knowledge after signing. What was it like being on that label, coming from Texas, and being like one of the only Southern artists on that label?
Well, I mean, to be fair, the idea of coming from where we come from and like going to New York and signing a record deal was a big deal for us, you know what I'm saying? We superseded a lot of people who already had motion, as they say, at the time, and made our way there because we had the sales to back up what we were saying. We went up and we signed the record deal. And obviously, we can talk about the nuances of navigating that type of thing contractually, of course. But, we'd stepped out like after we signed it and everything. And we went in the hallway and we were like celebrating. And then as we're standing there, KRS comes down the hallway. And KRS comes up. It's like, yo, what's up? Where y'all brothers from? It's like, yo, we UGK. We from Texas. We came up here to sign our record deal. And he was like, did y'all sign yet? And we was like, yeah, we just signed. He was like, damn. Well, good luck, my brother. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So it went from this to this.
Immediately.
Within like 10 minutes after signing our record deal. So the idea of this being a high point for us, like, was really a slap in the face of reality.
Right.
Like, what did we actually get ourselves into? And once we had, and this was all about having the wrong attorney attached to us at the time. So once we got with a real qualified attorney, because that person literally was a former employee of the publishing company. So they manipulated us to give the label and the publishing company an advantage in a negotiation. So once we got a real lawyer together and realized what it was, then that's just years of amendments and fighting and trying to think we had some power or leverage, and it's getting put on the shelf for a year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But look, we were happy to be in the game. You know what I'm saying? It was an opportunity that many people hadn't been given, particularly where we were at. So we just tried to make the best of it, doing side hustles and just getting on the road and trying to grind it out. We never really had, to this day, I've never had a tour paid for by my record company.
I was going to ask about that. UGK didn't tour.
Yeah, no, it's not that to be fair, we did, but we toured by car.
Okay, got
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We had to be self-sufficient the majority of our career because we were always at odds with the record company. We were never included in a lot of things that other artists were included in. Our record company would tell people that we were difficult to work with. And so people would assume that the idea of, and the idea that we wanted to be underground and we didn't want to be a part of big things. We were actually, you remember the Sprite commercial where they had Fat Joe and Goody Mob and all these different guys?
Was that the one with the lions?
Yes.
The Voltron.
Yeah. So they created that campaign by going to different regions and asking artists, if you could see someone on TV, who would you want to see? And in the southern region, we were number one because we didn't have a lot of music videos. We didn't have that kind of exposure. So people really wanted to see UGK. So Sprite called the record company and said, hey, there's, people want to see these guys. We have this campaign. And they were like, nah, they're difficult. You don't want to work with them.
No.
You know yeah, because we weren't playing ball. We weren't, to be fair, we were at the time being difficult with them. I would have played ball with Sprite. Right?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But these are things that you kind of have to go through so you learn, like, if you really don't have the leverage, this may not be the time to be stubborn about this type of stuff. And as you get older, you understand it, but we felt a certain way culturally about what we represented, and we felt like they didn't really see us and hear us properly. So we just fought the system. That was all we knew to do, was fight the system.
What age were you? How old were you when?
That would have been, well, I signed at 19, getting ready to turn 19. Pimp was still underage, so his mom had to sign for him. So this would have probably been like, I don't know, maybe 21, something like that, when I really started to realize how bad things were. I'm starting to fight the system. And then like the first time they were like, yeah, never mind. Yeah, I would have been like 20, 21
That's
years old.
crazy. Like, cause my experience with Jive, Zomba, I think that was
the publishing company.
Like, it's just hearing them shouted out on like Songs of Mischief. I get my loot from Jive Zomba, I'm a bomb of 93 till infinity. And then like, you know, then you move on to Q-Tip saying record company people are shady. Industry
And he signed the Jive.
Yeah, exactly. But he didn't say Jive Zomba, but when you look at the label, you're like,
what other record?
Who are you talking about?
Right,
then?
you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
And we're in the middle of all of that stuff. And keep in mind, as we're growing with the company, right, they become more pop.
Right.
Because around this time is when they bring in Britney Spears, they bring in NSYNC, I think they had the Backstreet Boys, they also had R. Kelly slowly crossing over. They were moving into movie soundtracks, which stayed predominantly hip-hop driven, but also shifted how soundtracks were done, because typically up until then, one artist did the whole soundtrack.
Yeah.
Jive used the soundtrack almost like a sampler to show you everyone on the roster.
I didn't know Jive pioneered that. I've been wondering, like, how that originated and why. Like,
it was Menace to Society. It was Menace to Society. They even had like Sons of Funk. They had just a bunch of different people that were under the umbrella and stuff like that on this project. And so we were able to take advantage of that. We had the Pocket Full of Stones remix, you know. So there were advantages to be signed to Jive for sure, but everything that we were trying to make them understand, they didn't really understand. And keep in mind, we were trying to talk about candy paint and screw and syrup and all that stuff in like 96. You know, and the only way that we could have the basic freedom to be able to speak like that is because we told them we didn't want any in advance. Just give us creative control of the project. Because we'd had songs remixed and different samples not clear and all this type of interference from the record company. And we were like, man, we don't want no money. Just let us make an album. You know, just let us make our album. And that's the one that became, the quintessential UGK project.
Yeah, that Riding Dirty.
Yeah.
And like for them, that probably read as, like you were saying, just not wanting to cooperate. Like they were looking like, oh, you don't want to be in the system. You just want to like leech off of whatever our system is. And y'all like, nah, we want to be us.
But then there was also a cultural divide, right? Because even obviously the higher ups, the CEOs and the executive vice presidents and all of that, they're a little bit removed from some of these things anyway. But even from an A&R and marketing perspective, they didn't really have the frame of reference to understand how to market and promote this group from Texas talking about all this other stuff that we really, frankly, I don't really know about or understand. I've never really heard of. They didn't know who DJ Screw was in 96. You know what I'm saying? And we're trying to tell them, hey, this is what's finna be the but nobody really understood it in the office.
You know, well, speaking of talking another language to these people, the word trill.
Yeah.
Y'all were like, it didn't enter the lexicon until UGK. So it's a word that did you guys come up with the word?
No, not at all. This word existed before UGK as a group existed. It came out the penal system. So this was a word that people used to use in the penitentiary. You know what I'm saying? That came home from a couple of guys, Spoon Guy and Block. They came home and started integrating that word into our local vernacular. So then everybody around the city was saying they were trill. Now, you know what I'm saying? So then we made music. It was it was just a natural thing to include that word into what we were doing and what we were talking about. And so eventually, we would have to explain it in different places, what it meant. And it was really just a way to separate ourselves from other people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But also it had this inherent understanding that if you say you're trill, then you're going to go above and beyond. Like it's very easy to hold somebody down when they're around you and you're around in a safe place. But when it's not safe and it's not comfortable, would you still hold that line? Would you still, represent for that person? And so that's eventually what we came to let people know. When people say they're trill, this is what they represent. Because where we're at, that's the kind of way people move. You know what I'm saying? So now, it's fully in the lexicon now, and it's expanded beyond hip hop. Because I've seen Aziz Ansari say it. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it in Saturday Night Live skits. Like it's there. You know what I'm saying? Lonely Island. A couple of different people have assimilated and used it. You know what I'm saying?
And it's only going further thanks to Trill Burgers. We're gonna get on that in a minute.
No worries.
But before we get on that, I just wanted to say I love Texas slang. Like coming down, all that.
Yeah.
Like Like I'm one of those people that if I hear somebody talking, just the normal speech pattern, I could like try to guess where they're from. Always guess where a Texas person is.
I mean, it's very easy. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not down, it's down. You know what I'm saying? Like we're going to say certain things a certain way, and we're going to stand out like a sore thumb, and we're fine.
Yeah. Slabs, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like without getting thrown, with all that.
Man, hold up.
There we go. But I want to talk about Pimp C a little bit.
Let's do it.
Of course, we got to talk about Pimp C and his legacy. He was, from what I can tell, he was the bigger personality in the group.
No, by far. UGK was Pimp's baby.
Yeah.
Like it meant everything to him, what this group represented, the way we recorded music, the way the sonic landscape of it, the way that he and I both took different lyrical approaches, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's going from A to B, just taking different roads to get there. So we were always in line of what the end goal was, but we were never going to take the same way there. And, you know, this was the beauty of our relationship because...
Talk about that. That was the next question.
For the first thing is that like, say, for example, Pimp plays a beat, right? Let's say, and it's something about women, right? So Pimp's going to write, I'm going to write, right? And I don't have to ask Pimp what he said. Pimp doesn't have to ask me what he said because there's not going to be any overlap. Like, it's never, ever been any overlap. We don't like the same type of women, and we don't move on women in the same way. So if we do a song about women, we don't have to worry about if you're going to say something that I might be saying in this word. It was not even that same type of approach. Our yin and yang was solid. It was very, very concrete. So we had that kind of freedom with each other. We also never argued in the studio, right? Lyrically, I was the leader in that side. Musically, sonically, he was the leader on that side. So everybody knew their place. Yeah. So just the natural synergy between us was not something that we had to work at. That was not something that we had to concentrate on. It just existed in that way. So I never stepped on his toes and he never stepped on mine. We never argued in the studio because everybody understood their place and their role in this group. And you know, I used to just profess about how great he was as a musician and a producer. He would profess how great I was as a writer and a lyricist. And, you know, it was just this need to hold each other down. You know, there were times when Pimp didn't want to do it and I would try to keep him uplifted and vice versa because
thank you. Like you're literally walking to the answers that I wanted to get because I wanted to ask about if there were moments where, like, we all know the story about the Jay-Z Big Pimpin' video shoot. It's been told a million times, you know what I'm saying? And for people that don't know, Pimp had to be kind of convinced to do the Jay-Z song. Yeah. But my question was there anything he had to convince you to do?
Yeah, there was times where I was like, this ain't paying off. Like both of us at one point or another were like, man, this is not paying off. I could be making way more money in this way because, I mean, to this day, we signed in 1992. This is 2025. I still have not gotten back. There's no back end money, right?
Them contracts,
right? You know, what I'm
not even like take into account this technology. Yeah.
So you know, it's always the idea of, well, we can't pay you anything because of the share that you have in your contract, but we can give you another advance. And that just becomes a deeper hole of debt that you find yourself in. So we're trying to navigate that, like, while really making music. So we had to keep each other lifted up because honestly, it didn't seem like what we were doing was paying off. Yeah. To be fair. Like at certain times I could see the light at the end of the tunnel and the other times he could, you know what I'm saying? So it was just that natural trust that if Pimp was like, trust me, Bun, this is going to work. And I'd be like, trust me, see, this is going to pay off. We would just keep going. We would just keep pushing.
That's beautiful, man. That's such a beautiful camaraderie, you know what I'm saying? Another thing that I wanted to know about was the International Players Anthem shoot. Mm-hmm. It was like, it's such an incredible video. It's like a who's who of Southern hip hop. What was he like on that shoot? Like, cause it feels like that, like, again, I'm thinking about this in the frame of reference of the whole Jay-Z thing where he's like, I'm not coming out there. I'm bringing my Benz, ain't no temperature on TV, all this shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? But like for international players, that felt like a reunion, like home.
So international players, for one, the video was the idea of the video was, so after we got through doing the song, and that's a whole other story, right? Of going from being a UGK and 3 6 Mafia song to 3 6 Mafia winning the Oscar. People know that when they win an Oscar, people usually renegotiate their contracts. Actors, everyone, typically directors, screenwriters, they all typically get paid more. So they tried to renegotiate their contract on it. It didn't work out for them as artists. They got back and forth into it with Sony. So Sony, like, just stopped dealing with them as artists, but because they produced the record, record and they didn't have a production deal with Sony, they could still be the producers of the record.
Gotcha.
It gets into the hands of Outkast separately. They come together. We're all on the same label technically, so I don't have to get it cleared or anything. But Andre was adamant that he wasn't going to do a video, right? Like, I'm not doing a video. Yeah, no, he was like, I'm going to rap on this song and that's cool, but I'm not doing a video. So I was like, we got to do this video. We have to do a video for the song. So I went to Brian Barber, who's their, most prevalent collaborator on everything visually, right? And I was like, how do we get him to do this video? He was like, you got to let him, just give it to him. So we was like, look, this is your video. It's your vision. Well, we just show up and rap. However we got to do it, we do it. He agreed to it. And so we shot it in Los Angeles, and it happened to be during BET Award weekend.
Okay.
So David Banner finds out we're in town. Hey, man, hey, y'all shooting a video. I'm going to pull up. He pulls up. He actually is in a suit, which is bananas. But anyway, and then T-Pain is in town. Hey, man, I hear y'all doing the shoot. I'm going to pull up. And he pulls up. And now Andre brings Lucas Haas. So that's like, there's one white boy and his groomsman, and that's Lucas Haas. You know what I'm saying? Alex Thomas, the wedding coordinator and all that type of stuff. These things just happen naturally. You know what I'm saying? We literally didn't invite anybody over. People found out we were in town and we told them, yeah, come on through. Now, to get to your point about Pimp was definitely sick that day.
Oh, really?
He was terribly sick that day. He was in the trailer, on his bus, and he slept most of the day. Like, we didn't shoot any of his scenes until probably 6 o'clock or so in the evening. And, but when he came out with the suit and the mink and the hat on, he was Pimp, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the energy was up.
Even in under the weather, Pimp C is better than most people on a bad day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So once he had his uniform on, he was ready to do what he needed to do. And he gave us everything he had. He really had to push through on that video, but you look at it and the results are timeless.
Gametime Pimp C. So in researching, I watched a bunch of y'all stuff, and that was the one video I was like, I got to run that back again.
That's the flu game.
That's the flu game.
That's the flu game.
That video is incredible. All y'all is incredible, but you know what I'm saying? Just that visual, even having Alex Thomas, there was a point in time where comedians had such a big place in music videos.
Absolutely. And
it was dope to be able to remember that.
Well, it's a West Coast event, right? We're in a church in Compton, and Alex, obviously, as a comedian, is very well known and respected on the West Coast. And again, like you say, some of these comedians, Alex Thomas or Cat Williams or Mike Epps, some of these guys are inseparable from hip hop culture. They're as much hip hop as we are. Some of them even rap. And now, in 2025, some of us do comedy.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to let go of any of your cultural influence or equity in order to transcend in these two spaces.
Yeah,
I love it.
Another thing I want to touch on with Pimp C is his production style. It's pretty unmistakable, but how would you describe it to someone who wasn't familiar with it?
It's built around the drums, for one. Pimp C was very serious about the drum production. But it's really about... It's soul music. When Pimp C produces, we're really rapping to soul music. It's music from the soul. Pimp had some of the best ears I'd ever seen. So there were certain qualities and things that he could pinpoint specifically and be like, that's what makes this record crazy. You know what I'm saying? We had heard a song. I did an intro for the radio station produced by Crazy C, who was part of Boneheart Productions. He had produced for Big Mello and a lot of different records for Rap A Lot Records. He even produced the Ha remix. The Method Man remix, there was a Rap A Lot remix for Method Man.
Really?
Yes. And he produced that, Crazy C. So Crazy C used to have these organs. And Pimp was like, man, I need them organs, Simon. Simon, his real name is Simon. And once he gave him those organs, every song that he put those organs in, it just really lifted things up.
Yeah.
It gave things a very earthy, spiritual undertone. You know what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of the early Rap A Lot music had in it. And we kind of took that lead from that because Jay Prince is a very spiritual and religious man. So he always made sure that everything was seated in the heart and soul and spirit, right? And so we took that influence on music and we made sure to put that into our music because there's always time for reflection. I don't care really what you're going through. And it's usually in your darker, lower moments where reflection is more necessary than anything else.
That was pretty heavy.
It just, because a lot of what we made can be just looked at very surface level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's really, to the people that we're speaking to, they understand the true intention of that music. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because, yeah, we can talk about the balling and the grinding and the hustling and the violence and all of that stuff. But at the end of the night, these people go home as human beings.
Yeah.
Right. And they've made some very tough choices in life. Right. And they have to wonder, like, what is the result of these choices going to be? When Pac starts saying, is there a heaven for a G? This is something that people think about all over the world on a nightly basis. Right. Is God going to, you know, forsake me for what I've done? The choices that I make. People really have these moments of reflection. We understand that. So we always leave room for that.
Yeah, this shit is church. You know what I'm saying?
It really is.
Down.
For some people, it is, bro. For some people, hip hop is church. I
Yeah.
taught about this at Rice University for several years. About for some people who don't really, for whatever reason, right? For example, I could see how somebody Catholic could have problems with Catholicism based on the actions of certain priests within the religion, right? So for some people, the religion they're born into, the religions that was practiced around them, it doesn't really work for them, right? They don't feel anointing when they hear the gospel music, right?
Yeah.
They don't have. So for some people, religion is not what makes them want to be a better person. It's not what makes them want to change the world. You know what I'm saying? And leave it better than where they found it. For some people, hip hop does that. Hip hop presents a space where they can be themselves, to truly be seen, truly be heard in this world, you know, comfortable and confident. Right. And to tell others, hey, come over here in hip hop. It's one of the most diverse cultures on the planet. And there's an entry point for everybody. Right? If that's what makes you a better person, that's your religion. You know what I'm saying? So I don't look at people a certain way if they don't, you know, abide by certain practices and principles, because that's pretty much what a religion is, a set of practices and principles. And certain people just don't want to abide by that because it really doesn't give them what they should get out of these practices. Right? It seems like I'm doing all of this for the sake of someone else or someone else's benefit. Yeah. But when you take in hip hop as a culture and a way of life, you benefit fully. It's all for you. Yeah. It's all for you.
And speaking of leaving things better than they found it, in the early 2000s, The Source had the Don't Mess with Texas photo shoot. At the time, there was a lot of Texas hip-hop acts beefing with each other. And I believe it was Pimp C who advocated for them to, like, squash the bull, get together, get this money, like, y'all on some fuck shit, whatever. My question was Pimp the one that set the photo shoot up, or did he, like, because I know he was trying to orchestrate, like, getting people to come together.
No, only Jay Prince could put that shoot together. Okay. Because there are people on that cover that didn't get along. Okay. So the only way that you could get all of those people in that place at one time to show a unified Houston and Texas was for Jay Prince to say, hey, y'all be here at this time. And everybody's going to show up. Now, where we position people in that lineup, maybe from the outside world, you don't see it, but we see it very clearly why people are where they are in that lineup. But the reality is that we all came together, one, because the Prince made the call, but then also, at the end of the day, we understand the bigger message that we're trying to send. I tell people all the time, New York has lines that divide people, right? There are different boroughs around the city, right? Somebody's from Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, all these, Harlem, right? But at the end of the day, when it's about New York and the message that's sent from New York, people that normally don't cross those lines will cross them and come together in order to send a unified message, right? West Coast, obviously, we know there are lines that divide people on the West Coast, color lines, black, white, Latina. There are things that divide people on the West Coast. Those lines are very driven in the sand, so to speak. But they come together to show a unified West Coast. That's all Jay Prince was trying to tell us. It don't matter if we got problems with each other. Keep that in your house. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes time for us to show the world, then we got to stand together. You know what I'm saying? We got to all come together. And Pimp's whole thing was like, war costs money. If we beefing with people, we're not focused on money. You can't focus on money because you can't move around like you would normally move around, very loosely and very comfortably. So the more we're beefing, the more not only are we losing money, we're losing our profit share, right? Like the West Coast has a percentage of the market. The South has a percentage of the market. And the East Coast has a percentage of the market. And if people aren't crazy about this beef that's existing, they're going to go elsewhere for entertainment because all our music is going to be built around beef. Now, obviously, we live in a different time now where people have figured out how to monetize beef and make it more popularized, right? You know, but at the time, we didn't even think that was, you know, we come from a world where beef really costs money.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So for us, it's like
money and lives.
Right. So if it ain't about some real money and it ain't about blood on the line, then what are we really doing here? And then, like, you know, you're rich, I'm rich, he's rich, they're rich. What are we really mad about, right? That was Pimp's whole thing. Yeah. Are we really that mad? Are you really sitting up in that 2-story, 5,000 square foot house with a 5-car garage, money, and the baddest you could get your hands on? How mad are you really?
Right.
At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all blessed. We're all living a very blessed life. You know what I'm saying? We have favor in this world, bro. Why are we tripping? Why are we drawing these lines, bro? Let's just go get this money.
Yeah.
Let's just go get this money. And I mean, and he took it even further because, you know, he took it out of state, you know, talking about Flip and T.I., you know what I'm saying? Just for the South in general, we're winning. The South right now in hip hop is winning. Why would we divide ourselves like this? You know? It's just bad business.
Yep.
It's just bad business.
Well, you know, look, that's a word and a half. And in honor of Pimp C,
yes,
I'm going to ask you occasionally throughout the interview, what would P do? What would Pimp C do? You know what I'm saying? And my first what would Pimp C do is, would he have done this interview? Do you think he would have?
Absolutely. He would have loved to do this interview.
Ordained.
You know what I'm saying?
He would have
and he would have gave you some gems, just like I'm trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
Trying.
And he would have actually, I'll be honest, he would have probably at some point turned it around and started asking you about you and what is it you trying to do? How long you been doing this journalism? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you got a magazine, why don't you start your own magazine? You seem like a sharp dude. He would encourage you to really go further than you're probably going right now.
Oh,
absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
I'm going to walk with that.
He would look at what he felt was the potential and try to push you in the right direction and encourage you.
I don't got to say shout out to Pimp C. He's in the building. But I have one more random Pimp C question because I already burned up my Nirvana t-shirt Pimp C
Don't
question.
worry about it. Don't worry.
The other one is, why does he shout out Houdini on the intro to Supposed to Bubble?
Houdini was one of our biggest influences by far. Like Houdini was, like, you understand, we're a duo.
Yeah, I love Houdini.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So EPMD, Run DMC, Houdini, we were encouraged to embrace the duo aesthetic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Groups were becoming multiples of 3 and 4. We even got to 9 at one point. You know what I'm saying? But we like the dynamic of being self-contained, right? Like, you could put me and Pimp in the studio, just us two, and we could bring you back an album. Mm-hmm. EPMD could bring you back an album. You know what I'm saying? We felt like that. You look at Mobb Deep, it could bring you back an album. Yeah. MOP, it could bring you back an album. We don't
Dog Pound.
Everybody. Yeah, there's so many different duos, and we embraced it and we looked up to other people. But I'll be honest, in the late 80s, early 90s, I don't know if there was anybody influencing us more than Houdini.
That's crazy, because I've heard Run DMC obviously, and I've heard other groups, but I feel like Houdini gets overlooked so much.
Some of the best production at the time.
The most unsung production.
Diverse, too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Diverse production. A great balance, right? The styles were not similar. The way they dressed was not similar. Same thing with me and Pimp. Yep. We didn't dress alike. We didn't sound alike. We didn't look alike. You know what I'm saying? One was lighter skin, one was darker. Same dynamic with Houdini. Right? Right. So we didn't have to worry about trying to be different. It wasn't forced. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We was just on the same page. We just showed up and went to work and did the job together and went home, smoked some weed.
Like, that was one thing that stuck out to me, was just like, Houdini.
You know, there's only been like 3 people in hip hop that have ever been able to get away with their glasses. That's Pimp, Run DMC, and Jalil.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, and not eyeglasses in the sense of like people wearing Cartiers and Gazelles or whatever. Like, I'm talking about impaired vision.
Yeah, like, these are medicine.
Yes, you know? Absolutely.
All right, so moving on, I want to talk about some of your solo stuff.
Okay.
I'm breaking up the timeline a little bit, but at one point, Pimp C went to jail and you were left to figure out being a solo act.
Yes.
So I heard you did it pretty reluctantly, but what was that journey of going solo? Like, what did it look like, the time frame? Like, from when you knew things were shaky and Pimp might be going away to when you actually started dropping stuff? Like,
it really, so I went through a state of depression initially when he had to go to prison, because I really could not see the light at the end of the tunnel, like literally. I was in a very dark state at that time. I was very depressed. I leaned into liquor more than anything. So the first thing I had to do was get myself back on track. So my wife and a good friend of hers got me in a good church. You know what I'm saying? Got me back lifted up spiritually. You know what I'm saying? And that was the beginning. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, we've got to put music out. So there was a clause in UGK's contract for if one of us wanted to do a solo album.
Yeah.
And the record label literally said, well, you're the sidekick, Pimp's the star. Like, we don't think this
What?
this was very real. Like, we don't think people want to hear a whole album of what you have to say, right? So I went to Jay Prince, and Jay Prince was open to it. I know it sounds crazy.
I just want to say, I'm sorry, and you're coming off of depression and like working yourself back up to even have the confidence and courage, and they just smack you down. Like, that's crazy.
So I go, but again, I'm at a very, very high level of desperation, right? I got to figure out how to keep this boat afloat.
Yeah.
Right. So I go to Jay Prince. Jay Prince immediately sees the value of having me as a solo artist. So once he goes to Jive and says, hey, like, if y'all don't want the album, I'll take it. Then it becomes, well, why do you want it? What do you know that we don't know? So that becomes a whole negotiation. That takes a while. And then he eventually figures that out. And then, okay, so now I've signed this deal. Now I have a solo deal. I'm a solo artist. Now I got to make a solo album. I've never been a solo artist. I never had any aspirations to be a solo artist. I felt I was in the best group in the world. Why would I want to go solo? But now I kind of have to, because this is the only way I can see to really perpetuate momentum for this collective. You know what I'm saying? So I just started calling homies. I got a lot of friends that are great producers, so I call KLC, I need a track. I call Manny Fresh, I need some music. I call Jazzy Faye, I need some music. I call Lil Jon, right? And then I tap in with the guys that are creating this sonic backdrop that's taking Houston to the to the front of hip hop. So I go with Salih Williams. I go to Mr. Lee. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to these guys that are creating all of these Houston anthems, and I ask them to make me some music as well. You know what I'm saying? And so I try to throw up as much of what I believe the world I exist in consists of against the wall, hoping that some of it would stick. And, by the grace of God, it stuck. Like everything we threw up against the wall, it all stuck. You know what I'm saying? But again, I had great friends, not only producing, but featuring, T.I., Luda, all the Houston All-Stars. You know what I'm saying? I had some great support in putting this album together because they wanted to see Pimp Home get back to it as well. You know what I'm saying? So I was, at this time, while we're doing all of this, I see the Free Yayo campaign helping. I see Eminem and everybody wearing these Free Yayo shirts on the MTV Awards. I'm like, I need to do a Free Pimp C shirt. So I started doing Free Pimp C. I started asking different people to wear Free Pimp C. People started wearing it upon themselves. You know what I'm saying? So that momentum carried around the country, and that kept me inspired and kept me going. And we put the album out. It got received greatly. You know what I'm saying? And it just created another avenue for myself that I never would have taken it upon myself to do.
Yeah.
But being forced into position created something that's, quite frankly, still exists to this day, and that's my solo career.
Yeah, and within your solo career, you have a couple strong collaborations, collaborative partners. One of those people is Static Selector.
Yes.
Who you guys have the Trill Static. It's like a series of projects, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember the first one, you guys recorded it live on live stream, and it was crazy to watch you and him, two giants, make music in real time. And you writing everything in real time and doing everything in real time. Like, just talk about that brotherhood for a minute and how you even linked up with him.
Well, I mean, Static reached out to me. We got very close around South by and places like that. And he would reach out to me periodically for a verse. And I like this production. They gave me alternative options and how to create.
Yeah.
In a way that primarily would not work in the scenarios that I've been used to and that people have been used to seeing.
Yep.
But I did realize that I had, an East Coast fan base. I did have something that was more what people identify with as hip hop, right? Backpack, boom bap, whatever say you. And that's kind of and I grew up on it, right? And I had an affinity for that,
Jive Zomba had mad backpack.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, eventually, it got to the point where outside of Pimp, I had recorded with Static, you know what I'm saying? Probably was my number 2, Pimp being obviously the number 1, but now it's like my number 2, you know what I'm saying? So, he presented me with it, with the option of, can we do a album? And, he saw I was very proficient and I was very quick on the pen. So he was like, I think we could get a whole album done under because he had already done an album in 24 hours with Saigon prior to that, but he thought we could get it done under a shorter window if we incorporated more people to be a part of it. And he came up with the idea of let's stream it out live. Now keep in mind, this was only 5 years ago. Yeah. And you look at what streaming was then to where streaming is now, it seems insane. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But the technology was not on our side at the time.
That was like Ustream, right?
Yes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So this is the infancy of live streaming. Yeah. As we do more albums, the technology's catching up with us. Also, you know, most hip hop nowadays, unfortunately, in regards to features and collaborations, are not done in the same room. Mm-hmm. A lot of these things are communicated over text and phone calls. The music is sent via email or text message. And so it's a lot of separation. Now, that being said, it still creates great music, right? It still creates the right collaborations will lead itself to great music. You know what I'm saying? But there's a different energy when MCs are in the room together, looking at each other, writing these rhymes. There's this collective energy in the room where people kind of feel like, well, damn, he look like he writing his ass off. Because you know, you can look at how somebody's writing a rhyme, and you know you're looking at it probably like, get on this because you got to figure out who wants to be first, who's going to be where on the track. All of these different things come into play when you're writing this rhyme in a room full of other MCs, and that energy is infectious because while we're creating song 3. Those two guys have to get ready for song 4. Yeah. He's waiting to see which song he's going to get on. He sees other MCs. He's hearing the tracks. Like, damn, I wonder what I'm going to get. You know, there's this anticipation. And this thing, it's a fun, like, a level of anxiety that kind of goes around the room, right? It's not the level of anxiety that takes you away from purpose. It actually gives you more purpose in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And look, I'm an old head, right? You know, rap evolves. New rappers are coming into the game generationally. I just want to make sure I still got if I'm going to be putting on music, then I need to be on par with what's coming out here today. So still sharp and still. And that's pretty much what Trill Static is.
Very on par, very sharp. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I'm excited every time it comes up.
And I have to deal with it in the moment because I may have two guys that are, you know, that live in this space, and I understand that space. And then this next song, it may be one guy that's on this and another guy that's on that. So I may have to be in that song the conduit that, you know, so I let this guy that raps about this kind of content go first. I speak to it, lean a little bit central, and then leave some room for the next guy to come into the song.
You know, a couple questions back, I asked about you and Pimp's relationship, and I was like, he's the bigger personality. The thing I didn't say, I was like, you seem like the diplomatic person.
Always.
You seem like the person that,
I just want it to work.
Yes.
That's it. I just want it to work. Let's get past the bullshit. Let's get past any preconceived notions that anybody's got about anybody. Let's lay it all on the table. Like men, talk about it, talk through it, push past it, and make some great music. That's it.
From one diplomat to another, I see you. I was like, that's my kind of dude. Another collaborative partner you have is Corey Mo.
Yes.
And y'all, how many albums are y'all on?
We're on the second album right now. Way Mo Trill.
Talk a little bit about like the decision to lock in with Corey. I mean, I know he's been collaborating for a long time, but
Corey creates familiar energy. Yeah. Right? Corey's been around myself and Pimp for many years. You know, his brother was one of Pimp C's personal right-hand guys. He used to engineer a lot of Pimp sessions. In the same way, Corey ended up leaning into that. Now he does a lot of the recording for me as well. And again, it's the familiar energy. It's not having to explain certain things when it comes to music. Corey already know where my sweet spot is. He already know where my wheelhouse is, and he puts me right where I want to be without me even have to give him direction. You know what I'm saying? And that's comforting. You know what I'm saying? I can relax in that and put the best effort towards the music without any kind of mental hurdles or complications. You know what I'm saying? So whenever Corey and I decide to get together and make music, we already know who we're talking to. We already know what they want to hear and how they want to hear it. And we just stay there. There's no outside aspirations. When Corey Mo and I make music, it's to feed that culture. It's to give those Southern people that music that's seeded in that spirituality, you know what I'm saying, that deep funk, something that's going to sound good as they ride down the streets of their neighborhood and community. That's where we want to be. Now, we don't mind if new people come in. If somebody's dad or somebody's big brother or somebody's big uncle introduces them to it, that's fine. But we're not going to overexert ourselves to be appreciated by people that probably don't care anyway. you know? So
Gotcha.
we just stay where we are. And being consistent in that way, you know, makes people like reassured, you know, because a lot of times people don't even want to listen to new music because they don't think it's for them. But when I present it with Corey Mo and it sounds sonically like it does, and I'm rapping lyrically like I do, and it's mature, like that's the best and the biggest part is the maturity, because I'm 52. The majority of my fans are somewhere between 48 and 52, and life ain't what it used to be, right? So we gotta exist in there. And look, we can still get dressed up and go out, right? But I'm gonna need about 2 months so I can save up some money and get a babysitter for these kids, or, you know, and tell my kids I ain't babysitting them grandkids this week. These are all the type of things that people understand. Yeah. It's a real thing. And as long as I speak to that, they'll feel comfortable. They can rest and assured that Bun B, no matter what's going on or who, I'm on Bryson Tiller's album, and I'm on the Jack Boys album, you know what I'm saying? I'm on Benny the Butcher's album, and there's a place for me there, right? But I'm not trying to put them on my album, because that's not really what my base would want.
Because you understand the audience.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I can generally read the room in hip-hop.
Yeah. So I want to move on to something else, a different topic now. Sneakers.
Okay.
I know you and Premium Pete are not only friends, but business partners.
Yes.
Like you have a relationship with him, and you also had a relationship with the late, great Clark Kent.
Absolutely.
My question is, what's your overall connection to the sneaker community? And for people who don't know, real quick, Premium Pete is probably one of the top sneaker
Just say voices.
Sneaker voices, thank you.
Just say voices.
In not only in New York, but just in the scene.
So I've been in this game a long time, and I've seen a myriad of flexes, right? The jewelry, the car, the house, the plane, the woman, right? All of these different things, right? And I realized that I probably, outside of the woman, because my wife is a pretty woman, I felt like for the most part, I couldn't I felt like I couldn't keep up with a lot of those flexes, right? You know what I'm saying? But sneakers, when it comes to sneakers and hip hop artists, I'll go head to head with everybody except Fat Joe. As far as rappers and DJs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, if we include DJs, I wouldn't go head to head with Greg Street either.
Yeah,
you know
Greg Street,
Because Greg Street is just a great collector.
Yeah.
Right, in general. Like, he has a ton of sneakers, right? They're all over the house. But he also is probably one of the greatest collectors of hip-hop merchandise as well, because he's been a DJ for so long.
Right.
So all of those promotional items that they gave people, Greg Street has 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? So these guys,
I gotta have doubles everything.
Absolutely. You know, I've got a lot of Jordans. I've got a great relationship with Jordan Brand. Fat Joe's got a great relationship with Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be an inherent difference. But for the most part, I can go shoe to shoe with anybody in this game.
Yeah. And I do want to publicly thank you for one thing. And you probably know what I'm going to say. You might not know. But in the early days with Twitter, Tanya Morgan, my group, were on tour in Portland, Oregon. And I just threw out a tweet like, hey, man, in Portland for the day off, would love to see Nike's campus. You retweeted it, and I was on Nike's campus within an hour.
Amazing.
So, my man, shout out to Mark. That was, I sat at Tinker How It Feels desk. I got to see the whole facility. So it's just like outside of being just a legend and an icon, like having that sort of like little bit of like of your lore baked into my development, man.
And I just, probably within that year and a half, right, prior to that, gotten to that level of relationship.
Yeah.
To where, you know what I'm saying, I could recommend somebody that, and they would be like, okay, well, if you say they're cool, they're cool.
Yep.
Yeah, but somebody said I was cool, to be fair. Somebody called and said I was cool, and they let me on campus. Did you go to the employee store?
I did.
Yes. And you get the gift card, and it's 50% off, so you get a $200 gift card, and you get $400 worth of Nike. Bananas.
And I have a relationship now with Mark. Is like my homie. Like he did a bunch of stuff for the Kobe brand.
Yes.
But the fun, and even like funnier footnote is the campus was closed that day. But
that's crazy.
He still just opened it up for me. It was like, come through. Bun said, come through.
That's amazing.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like, my question with that is, they haven't given you a sneaker yet. Have you had a sneaker?
I've had a sneaker.
Okay.
I did a CP3, right? So I did a CP3 shoe for Houston's All-Star Weekend. That was Chris's practice shoe.
Okay.
But we made it available for celebrity seating. Kevin Hart got the shoe, wore it in the Celebrity All-Star game, and won MVP. So that's like my claim to fame. You know what I'm
Listen,
saying?
man, that sounds ultra rare. So if you got one of them Bun B CP3s.
Yes. No, it was very, very rare too, for sure.
Listen, if you got that and you got the four, what's the early group's name?
4BM.
You got 4BM in that shoe.
Yes.
Put it up on eBay as a combo. You
Come
know
on,
what I'm saying?
man. You'll hit a lick for that for sure.
Speaking of combos, Trill Burger.
Yes, sir.
We got to talk about it, man. All right. Before we start this part, I got to confess something to you, though.
Okay.
I do not like sauce at all. Ketchup, mustard, mayo, I call it the big three. I don't put it on my plate.
That's fine.
I saw an interview where you said, I want to get this right. You said the patty is the best part of the Trill Burger, so it don't on it.
Right.
And I just want to thank you for standing up for the plain burger community, man.
But let me be very clear. Let me put that in proper context,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So most hamburgers are an afterthought. Most hamburgers are considered a part of fast food. We typically only eat a hamburger when we need something quick for lunch, or if we're leaving out of the club or something like that, or we got kids and we want them to be quiet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really think about the burger, you just think about the act of the burger. But the reality is, if you strip most burgers down to the patty, it's not a pleasant experience.
Facts.
That's why most burgers have to have lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, onions, mustard, mayo. All of these things become what you become addicted to. Most people, when they go to McDonald's and they get a food order, the entree varies. You really just want the fries when you go to McDonald's.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when they give you the bag, you don't pull out the burger, you eat the fries. You know what I'm saying? So different things draw you to different brands. But the reality is the makeup of the burger is designed to overlook the fact that the patty is probably pretty bland. So if you strip every burger down to just the patty, we are bar none far away the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when we add things to our burger, it's to complement the patty. Otherwise, it just gets in the way.
Yeah, it's not to overshadow or cover up.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
It's only purely for a compliment. Now, for a person like you who doesn't like sauce, that's not a problem for us. We'll take the sauce off the burger, but we'll put it on the side. But I would ask you at some point, try sauce.
Okay, tell me about the sauce flavor profile. Is it like tangy, sweet? Like what's the flavor profile of the sauce? I'm not gonna ask you what's in the sauce because you probably are not gonna tell me what's in the sauce.
I can't tell you.
Yeah, so
And
what's
it's
the
not even if I wanted to tell you.
proprietary shit?
Absolutely. The sauce is an IP.
Yeah, but like if you had to like give it a flavor profile, is it sweet, tangy, like what is it, umami? Like what does it add? Do you have
Probably umami, if anything, because it's not a type of sauce that you could put on your tongue and your palate would break it down in the way that you could break down most things. It has elements of things that you would have on a burger, but then there are other things that are incorporated in the sauce that are not typical for a burger, and that's kind of what gives it its umami, because it complements in a different way that other flavors normally do.
Yeah.
But it really only works if you have the whole thing.
So the Donwill burger would be just a light smear of sauce.
You would have to look. I think.
You make me get. This is like Fear Factor.
I think you have every right to not want on your burger what you don't want on your burger, right? But I would ask at some point, try the Trill Burger as it was meant to be tasted.
I'll do you one better. I'll promise when I have my first Trill Burger to try it as it was intended.
Look,
I will sauce it up for you.
But here's the thing, right? Just put enough for one bite. Just put enough for one bite. Just a little dip of it, just to make sure the flavor complements well.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? And if you can eat past that first bite, I'm telling you, I'll give you a perfect example. We went to Khaled's house.
Yeah.
And we cooked for DJ Khaled. The clip went viral, right?
I remember I can eat 6 of these.
Right, exactly. So the wife is telling me, I'm telling you, we're going to make burgers for everybody. She's like, well, if you make one for Assad, can you do this and do it this? Because he doesn't like different things, touching different things. So however he wants it, we will make it for him, right? But I was like, well, we'll make everything available on the side if he wants it. So we give it to him like he likes it. And he's watching his mommy, he's watching his daddy, and he's realizing that there's things on their burger that's not on his. So he puts like a pickle on it and he bites it. He kind of likes it. Then he puts a little sauce on it. And slowly but surely, by the end of it, he's had a Trill Burger in the way that it's meant to be tasted. And his mom was like, I've never seen, he never does this. You know what I'm saying? Kids are very particular about how they eat, but kids are also even more particular about not being left out of things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was happy that he was encouraged by the fact that his parents were eating it and looked like they were really enjoying it.
Well, I don't want to be left out either, so Assad, I'm joining you.
Yeah,
I'm going to just try the whole thing, you know what I'm saying? But the dad joke enthusiast in me thinks it's wild that your name originally had nothing to do with hamburgers, and now Bun B is synonymous with hamburgers.
It's bananas.
Yeah, so that's another food, but bananas. But why hamburgers? Like, how did you come to hamburgers?
It was presented to me.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't something, a lot of people assume that this is my burger, that I was doing it at cookouts and barbecues and reunions, and everybody was like, you should open up a store. Your burger is that good. This is not my burger. It was created by classically trained chefs. It was presented to me by a good friend of mine, Andy Wynn, who I'd known from the clothing industry prior, and who had been very successful in this food space. And it was something like I had never tasted before, because I don't like onions. I don't like pickles. I feel like that, like you feel about sauce.
Okay.
But I did feel like if I was going to promote this burger, that I needed to eat it and I needed to like it, because otherwise it's going to show, right?
Yeah.
So I've been into it, against, better judgment, right? At the time.
I feel your pain.
And I really enjoyed it. For one, it made onions make sense to me. I am
like
just
raw onions
opposed.
or
I'm just
onions?
opposed to onions in general,
Oh,
right?
shit.
But I love French onion soup. I love the broth. I love the flavor, right? And so I realized when I bit into that burger and had that flavor of the beef, the seasoning, the cheese, the sauce, and the onions, I understood what flavor the onion brought to the burger.
Okay.
I realized that the onion was as important as the cheese, as the pickles, as the beef, as the bun, as the sauce. It was a vital part of this burger. And so I was very comfortable eating it and being ready to present it and being able to promote it and market it and smile and eat that bitch, right? I enjoyed the idea of it. And so when I brought it home to my wife and I told my wife, I got this great burger, I'm going to be a part of this company. She's like, what's in it? And I told her it's onions and pickles. She was like, you hate onions and pickles. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, but it tastes good. She's like, well, what else in it? Is tomatoes? I said, there's no tomatoes, there's no lettuce. How is this a burger? Like, she didn't understand the idea of what a burger wasn't, right? Because it didn't present itself as most burgers have presented themselves. That, to me, was the plus. That, to me, was the deciding factor, was that we went outside the way of how you even eat this, right? And brought you a whole different experience with it that's completely separate from any other dining experience. The only problem with eating this burger is how long it's going to take you to eat another one. That's the big thing with pop-ups. I love bringing the burger to other cities, but then I watch people eat it and I watch people get excited and like, damn, this is a good burger. And then I see that look when they realize, I got to go home tomorrow. Like, when I'm at Coachella, motherfuckers like, I gotta go back to Idaho. I gotta go back to Wyoming. You know what I'm saying? Fuck. And then you go home, right? And you try to eat another burger, you'll throw that shit in the car. It's not even the same approach. It's not even the same level of respect. I don't believe anyone cares more about presenting a hamburger or cheeseburger to people than I do. I don't think they put more thought. I don't think they put more care, concern. I really don't think they give a fuck about their burger as much as I do.
Care more about your burgers, goddammit.
Really?
I want to play a quick game.
Okay.
It's a take on the Marry Kill game. You know the game?
I'm aware.
So
this is going to be interesting.
Trill sauce is the bar. We're not even gonna put that in here.
Okay.
But mustard, mayo, ketchup, Marry Kill. Which one? Where we going with them?
We killing mustard.
Kill mustard.
We killing mustard with fucking mayo and we marrying ketchup.
That makes sense.
I'm just keeping it
That
real.
makes
Because I incorporate ketchup into more dishes than I would mayo or mustard.
Yeah.
I'm not a mustard guy at all, so mustard. And mayo really only works on a sandwich, or if I go to Europe and want to fit in, I could dip some fries.
I with aioli, which is the same as mayo.
It's really,
but I just like to say the word aioli.
It's just it's French mayonnaise.
It's French mayonnaise.
That's all it is.
And I'm not allowed to say
aioli is really Allen. If it was made in America, it'd be Allen. That's
I'm not allowed to like diss mustard because my lady is French, so she's like mustard. So I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't like any of them, but I think that tracks. The next game that I have for you is I want to rate types of buns from best to worst. I got 5 types of buns.
Okay.
I know what's going to be the best probably, but you got brioche, potato, sesame seed, ciabatta, and pretzel.
Pretzel's bottom.
Bottom?
Pretzel's bottom.
Even
Pretzel,
I would put
a
ciabatta
pretzel
down
bun
there.
is bottom. Easily bottom of the barrel.
Serious?
That's not a bun.
Oh, it's a pretzel.
That's just a pretzel cut in half, bro. It's not a bun.
All right,
You know what I'm saying?
Facts. Okay.
I would say ciabatta next.
All right.
Sesame seed,
The classic burger bun.
right? What are the last 2? I know potatoes one.
And brioche.
Brioche, I would go to. It's a fancier burger.
Very fancy.
It
burger.
presents itself fancy,
Yeah.
but it's bread, right? It's just bread. But potato for sure. Potato gives you, in my belief, the proper texture balance, right?
Yes.
Because I do a smash burger. So my burger is a lot more well done, and it's a bit crispier. So the potato bun gives us the perfect texture balance for that. The patty is crispy. The pickles are crunchy. The bread is soft. The onions, obviously, that has that cooked caramelized texture to it, and the sauce is just that sweet thing that brings it all together.
Man, this is making me hungry as hell.
That's my job. That's my job for this company. I got one job to make you want to eat a Trill
I
Burger.
am starving already, and now I want a burger. What would Pimp say about the burger? What do you think he would?
I don't think many people would eat more Trill Burgers than Pimp. And I think Pimp would be proud of this entrepreneurial side, because he always say when you start giving a about money, you're going to be different, Bun B.
Oh,
Because I was always an artist, right? I just wanted to do music, make my money, and go home. Once I became the head of things, where I had leadership responsibilities and I'm responsible for other people, I had to start taking differently. And that's when the business side of things had to change, because now I employ other people. I have to pay other people. Then when we started a business, now there's insurance, there are all of these other different nuances of what it takes to keep a business open. And I think seeing me in that position and being successful at it, I think it would really make Pimp proud. Well, damn, Bun B, you got a better car than me, because I never cared about that type of shit. And to be fair, I don't think I would have a better car than him. But to be fair, for him to see me driving around in a nice foreign car, you know what I'm saying, with a couple of different restaurants, and, burger pop-ups around the country, he would be really proud of me, man.
I think you got to do I know you like to concentrate on a couple of items to keep things quality. Mm-hmm. You got to do that Pimp C shrimp po' boy to get iodine paused.
See, that would probably work a lot better in Trill tenders, because that would be a restaurant built around fryers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas we have fryers, but they're primarily for fries. Yeah. And I don't think people realize if you put tenders in the fryer where fries are, either your fries will taste like tenders or your tenders will taste like fries.
There are a lot of restaurateurs that don't realize that, because I've had some very tender tasting French fries. And I'm like, what the is this shit?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Got a couple more questions. I want to talk to you about the rodeo.
Yes.
Do you have a permanent stage at the Houston Rodeo?
Or? I do not. Okay. So that's not so what happens is that the rodeo, which is now, I want to say, the next rodeo would be the 93rd anniversary of the rodeo. And there are different nights at the rodeo. So most of them, because it's a rodeo, are country music. There's Mexican Appreciation Night. There's a pop night. We've had EDM before. We've had K-pop. And then there's Black Heritage Night. So that would be the night that I would be performing.
Okay, gotcha.
Is Black Heritage Night. One year, I didn't perform on Black Heritage Night. And I'll tell you why. When we did the rodeo the first year, right, and we assimilated everybody and, put on the show, I was like, this was amazing. We never thought we'd do it again. So then the next year when they called and asked would we do it again, I asked, could I be moved off of Black Heritage Night? And they asked me why. I said, because I feel like if I'm on Black Heritage Night, you're not going to book anybody else black. And they were like, well, I wouldn't say that, but we don't know who to give it to. Like, we wouldn't know who to give it to because you did such a great job, right? So the second year, I accepted Black Heritage Night. The third year, I demanded to not be put on Black Heritage Day. So they would be forced to book another black artist on the rodeo. So because of that, they gave me their worst selling night of the rodeo, which is the Thursday night during spring break. So the rodeo happens It's 3 weeks, it's 21 days long, and the second week is usually it's like a free week for kids. You know what I'm saying? It's spring break. And so families are typically going to other places. Kids, if they want to do something, they're not doing it there. So it's typically their lowest selling night.
Yeah.
And so I put together an assortment of people, headlined by Drake. And I mean, we sold ridiculous amount.
I would have.
First year we sold 72. Second year we sold 73. That year we sold 75. And a couple of hundred extra standing room only.
And just for people who don't understand what the rodeo is, like
Yes.
what is the magnitude of it? Like what is the rodeo?
So the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo is the largest rodeo in the world. It's not the World Series of rodeos. That happens in Las Vegas. But as far as the presentation of a rodeo and what a rodeo consists of, it's the largest on the planet. It's 21 days. They get about 2.2 million people that go through the gates in those 21 days. And it's a two-part thing, right? So there's a big misunderstanding about the rodeo is that you buy a ticket, you go there, you see a show, you go home. So I come to Houston, I buy a ticket to the rodeo, do this, do that, then I go, I see the Bun B concert, and I go home. It's two parts. So the first part is like what we see as like a state fair or a carnival, right? You got the Ferris wheel, you got the rides, the cotton candy, all of that type of, you know what I'm saying? The dart at the balloon, all that shit on Coney Island, right?
Yeah.
That's one price. And all of this happens in the parking lot of the Texans football stadium. So if you want to go inside, which is where the rodeo actual competition and followed by that night's entertainment, that's a different ticket. That's a Ticketmaster fight for your seat type of thing. So we exist in that space. So when I say we sold 72,000 tickets, people bought a ticket. So let's say on my night, right? There'll probably be 110,000 people at the rodeo on grounds, but only 72,000 of those people bought a ticket to go inside.
I love the word, the job that Only is doing in that city.
Yes.
It's doing a lot of motherfucking work because that's a lot of people.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we presented something that had never been done before, probably the greatest Houston hip hop night ever, right? Because everyone on stage was a part of Houston's hip hop and R&B community. And so they asked us to come back the next year. So the first year was Bun B's Houston H-Town takeover. The next year was Bun B's Southern takeover. So I brought in people from Louisiana, from Memphis, Tennessee, from Georgia, from Jackson, Mississippi, that kind of thing. That sold about over 73,000 tickets. The next year we did the All-American takeover. That's when we brought everybody out. You know what I'm saying? Nelly, Yin Yang Twins, David Banner, headlined by Drake.
What a line.
That one did 75,000, you know what I'm saying? And so and then earlier this year we did our fourth one about that. And I don't think we're going to do it again. They think they're going to go in a different direction.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I wish them well, but I mean, to have, 4 years in a row of being able to, we sold, almost 300,000 tickets for this thing, you know what I'm saying? In 4 shows.
That's a hell of a run.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not mad at it. I appreciate the opportunity. But we're still on the grounds because I sell Trill Burgers there too. Yeah. So the first year I did it, I introduced Trill Burgers to the entire city. And again, like I say, 2 million people come through the gates. So they're the ones that literally is like, go open a brick and mortar now. Because they realize that at the end of the rodeo, I can't get this burger tomorrow if I want this burger tomorrow, right? So they pushed us, you know what I'm saying? And so we hurry up and we elevated the process and we opened the door and they've been just coming in and just buying food and supporting. People come in and spend money with me and tell me thank you.
Yeah.
That's a different
I can see that.
relationship, Yeah. Because they're helping me, but they don't look at it as just a burger, right? They look at it as a cultural entry point for people who are not from Houston. So it's definitely a destination location, you know what I'm saying? But it's also the culture of Houston leaving the city, right? So it's a cultural export that gets to go out and represent Houston in a certain way. So people are supportive of it in so many different forms and fashion. But they all lend themselves to me having success with my partners in this business. And I couldn't ask for anything better. Another
thing that I noticed when I was researching the rodeo was that, I don't know if it was every year or just the first year, but you gave Pimp his own dressing room?
Yes. That was my guy Mark's idea. Mark and AJ's idea was to do that.
That was honestly where I got the what would Pimp say like theme, like because like in my mind, like what would Pimp have said about seeing the rodeo? You know,
But the room is for women.
oh
So every year we have female artists at the rodeo.
yeah,
And the women are in Pimp C room because that's where Pimp would have wanted the women at the show to
so
be.
Pimp would have said, "That's some cool ass shit."
Yeah, no, they would have been in there with Pimp. That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? So so it's just in spirit, and the women are taken aback by it too. They are just, oh my God, you know, everybody really is very surprised when they come and actually see that. The first time I saw it, I cried. I had no idea they were doing it.
All right, for the last question is a new segment I have called the Big Playback, where we get justice for an underrated or overlooked song or album or just thing about hip hop. If you need a second to gather yours, all right, let it rip.
There's a tie. This is going to be a tie between two different artists, but it's solely based around the output and the level of execution. One is going to be Boldy James.
Boldy, mother. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
think Boldy is writing in an extremely unique way.
Yep.
He's very proficient at it, and it's very easy for him to execute. So he's putting out a lot of high-level work in a very consistent and frequent pattern. And I think it just lends itself to a run that most people have really not paid close attention to. Almost every project is done in collaboration with a different producer. Some of them, at most, have 2 features, right? So when I say a high level of execution, the majority of the writing on every single project has been him. And I think he crosses a lot of different lines. He's just as good working with an East Coast artist, which technically as Detroit, you could associate with it. With a Midwest artist, with a Southern artist like myself, with West Coast artists. It's very easy to get along with. Most people like him and most people want him to win.
Yeah.
The same thing exists in Houston with Ellie Dollar.
L.E. Dollar?
Yes.
Okay.
Ellie Dollar. Ellie Dollar originally started with Boss Hog Outlaws with Slim Thug's team.
Yeah, no, I've heard of Boss Hog Outlaws.
Yeah. And so then he went over to Jet Life with Currency.
Oh, shit.
For a while. And now he's been doing his own thing independently for several years. And he's put a project out every month for the last, I want to say 15 months now. You know what I'm saying? Just this high level of proficient work that's very thematic. He's got a very specific spot that he plays in. And he does very well there. And it transcends to a lot of countercultures. Like, for example, he's very, very popular in Japan.
Oh,
because
shit.
a lot of what he does is built around self-sustainability and just existing in your own space with comfort and car culture.
Okay.
So a lot of those things lend themselves to the Japanese aesthetic.
Yeah, this almost feels like Larry June vibes.
It absolutely is. This is, I would say, less is probably a few months for, I would say, Currency, less, Larry June, Primo Rice, right? Polyester, these kind of, like, up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all in that kind of way. Probably ending in Cardo.
My pick for the Big Playback,
Okay.
the thing I want to shine a light on is Texas freestyling. Y'all, man, freestyle some of the best verses. Like, historically, the mixtape culture, just like every time I hear a dude from Texas freestyling, it's like, I don't know if this was written or freestyle. It sounds so seamless and natural. You know what I'm saying?
I would say all of the freestyles that were presented on a DJ Screw tape from inception to his passing were all original, unique freestyles done in the moment.
Yeah, that definition of freestyle, like spontaneous rhyming in the moment. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Not like written verses and shit.
And you have to keep in mind that these tapes are slowed down, but everything's happening in real time.
Yeah.
So these freestyles are being done at a normal speed, right, off the dome in real time at 88 BPM, 82 BPM. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like they're rapping slow. They're rapping at a normal pitch. The music is pitched down.
Yeah.
So I think that is a part of the freestyling that's lost on a lot of people because they're assuming people are slow. Got to come down. No, that's the speed that the tape is playing. But in real time, it's got to come down. Man, it's so real. Like he's rapping in real time. You know what I'm saying?
It just sounds so. It's just the most natural flow.
It really is.
And it's something about it like every freestyle has like these sort of like when you freestyle you have these sort of like filler words and you know what I'm saying? It's like Like that sort of thing happens when you're freestyling and trying to gather your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for Texas rap, the filler things are just actual sentences.
Yeah.
So,
well,
you know what I'm saying?
I feel like what it is that it allows the way Texas freestyles, while still on time, still taking up as much time and as many words, I still think there's still room to process thought.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. Like Texas style of freestyling lends itself that half second more that allows you time to take a breath, draw from the subconscious or read the room and grab something to keep this thing going.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not as complex as as other styles of freestyling need to be. New York freestyles need to be a lot more complex. The word needs to be multi-syllabic or carry over into the next bar.
Yep.
Texas is really like on that 4 time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2. And it lends itself to like, oh, man, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and it gives them time to catch. And because they take that little half second or second to reconnect with it, it sustains it longer and further. And it doesn't complicate it and it doesn't eventually lead to a caution sign or something. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. Well, look, man, you gave me a lot to think about. I got to go check out L.E. Dollar.
Yes.
And dude, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
No worries, man. Anytime, brother. Anytime.
Once again, shout out to Bun B for stopping by to hang out with us. Hopefully next time he'll bring by some burgers. Make sure to check his socials to see when Trill Burgers will be in your area so you can support, and feel free to run them numbers up on the music too. I think he just dropped the album with Corey Mo Trill. That's it for today's episode, but you already know, stick around after the credits for a little something extra. The Almanac of Rap is created and hosted by Donwill. Executive producers are Donwill, Aisha Sese, and Travis Harris. The show is directed by Travis Harris. The show is produced and edited by Kobe Bafor. Art direction for the show was handled by Kaushik Kaladindi. The production coordinator is Bianca Ortiz. Audience development is handled by Hassan Spruill and Ashawn McCullen. Our audio marketing strategist is Fabian Mickens. The show's camera operators are Travis Harris, Kobe Bafor, Trigger Bowden, and Compton Timberwolf. Graphic design was done by Jefferson Harris. Compton's also our technical director and audio engineer. The show's associate producers are Brianna Harris, Tiara Jackson, and Javon Stevenson. The show's theme music was provided by Bun B. The show is written by Donwill and Peter Berry. Now, in honor of Bun B dropping by the show, you know I gotta lace y'all with a few bars from Pimp C. Here's some footage of him dropping a freestyle on Hard Knock TV. Hey, bitch, I'm Pimp C. Please don't use that.
A couple niggas kept it shit true indeed, but not the ones I used to bail out of jail and feed. We used to smoke weed and get drunk off brew. I went to TDC, I couldn't find you. You couldn't find me, that's what you told yourself. But you couldn't tell that bullshit to nobody else. So when they asked them how I was doing, they told them I was cool. Knowing you ain't talked to me since I went to the pen, fool. No pictures, no commissary money to eat. And now you think it's all good cause I'm back on the streets.
R.I.P. Pimp C, UGK for life, and I'll see y'all next time on the Almanac of Rap.